Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Ntim, founder and chief executive officer of a global startup ecosystem, reimagining what entrepreneurship looks like across continents, helping thousands of founders prepare for the digital age, one bold step at a time. Christine, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm great, Epi. Thank you so much again for the invitation. Really excited about this.
Well, thanks for joining me. One bold step at a time. Tell us, you've been called a serial entrepreneur, tech ecosystem leader, and personal branding expert. What's the earliest moment you remember thinking, I want to build something global?
Yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, you said it. As a CEO of the global startup ecosystem, my entire career has been entrepreneurial for the most part and global. And I think the first time is when I got my first global customer. When you see that your first customer, your first client, your first stakeholder is outside of your geographic confines, you tend to see business in the world in a different way. So that definitely was a very big eye-opening moment for me, and that was attained through technology, online marketing.
Yeah, I can truly relate that with you because I remember I was in New York running my own boutique advertising agency, and then crowdsourcing came along, and I said like, well, what do I want to do? Do I want to be in a global stage, or I want to be a guy in New York and just serving the local market? And it wasn't just about being a stage; it was about truly making that global impact. So I completely can relate that with you, and that journey, even though it was hard, and I'm sure it was hard for you too. But it's you look back now, and it's like super worth it. You say, "Thank God, I trusted my intuition. I trusted my spirit to go for it." Was there I'm sure the roads towards the success, it's always has a different variations to get there, but tell us one moment that you said, you know what, this is super important for me, that you'll go way and beyond to make it happen. Was that moment that you had in your life that said, this is it?
I think I've had several moments like that, but I think, really just trusting your gut. And when it comes to business, I think right now, and you've probably seen this talking to so many entrepreneurs, we're targeting problems that are not really our own, that don't really matter to us. And I remember with my first venture, the problem that I wanted to solve was actually very personal to me. I wanted to really uplift and digitize street market economies at the time. And I remember every stakeholder partner who didn't understand the problem that I was trying to solve undermined it. That's not a viable business. It's not global. It's not going to have highest potential. And I think, when you come to those crosswords where you find that you're trying to build something from nothing for something that's constantly being challenged in the market, not based on customer viability or not based on actual demand, but perception of impact, perception of viability, you have to really go with your gut. And I think those were the moments where I really understood my why in starting the business in the first place. But secondly, understood my purpose, because a lot of times we're trying to achieve our calling as entrepreneurs and the vehicle is business because we're solving global challenges and problems. But that's where I had to really come to those terms when that big venture deal will be lost if you don't go down that path, right? Or that big client, you'll lose it because you're not pivoting based on what they expect the problem to be. Those decisions do happen, and that was those are real turning points for me, specifically in my past career across probably all of my businesses.
Amazing. Well, you've been a CEO for many times. You're a
Yes.
mother of four
Yeah.
kids. How do you approach leadership when you're managing multiple teams, brands, and global time zones, and four kids? I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and I think the first thing that I would say is being transparent about your priorities and your values. Actually, every single team I've ever had, I've told them that family comes first to me, which means for them, family comes first to them as well, right? So that's more of a value centered thing where I understand how to share that value with others, and how to also incorporate team members who value that too. So a lot of my team members, I've been with them with their marriages, their first children, all these major milestones, just because I promote and really encourage putting family first and not work first. So I think that's a huge one. Really finding that balance and sharing that value system. But I think when it comes to leadership, one of the biggest things that's going to be challenged, especially as a female entrepreneur and a female entrepreneur operating in multiple climates where I'm dealing with, like, for example, a lot of our clients and stakeholders are in Africa, the Caribbean, which is predominantly male dominated, similar to the US, is articulating first and foremost from a, I guess, personal perspective, that I will make choices that put my family first and don't feel bad about it. I think a lot of us, when we are faced with an opportunity, if we say like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make that meeting because my child's school play is coming up on that day, people tend to say that you're not too serious about the job or you're not too serious about the business. I'm like, no, I think my priorities are straight. It's a decision that I made. And I think that's something that really stands true and is tested a lot in this day and age where there's so many different clashes with value systems around the world, that being steadfast about what your priorities are very important. Now, specifically in managing global teams, the biggest one, and we talked about this before, where your position, where your station, I think nowadays almost everyone has global teams in some type of capacity or global exposure. Cultural nuances across managing multiple teams across multiple time zones is a huge thing. I think a lot of people, when you're having teams in one time zone, you're dealing with one cultural conversation with one cultural value set. But to manage a team in Africa who has completely different value system around time management, to the European team that has a completely different value system around even protocol and just communication, right? To the American standard of communication and values. How do you lead across multiple cultural value lines? And I think for entrepreneurs who want to go global, you have to first have your own cultural baseline, and you apply it in different cultural zones when managing different teams, but share with them again your value code, because ultimately the only value system that should be applied is what's in the cultural value fabric of the company, not the country that you're operating in. And that's a huge difference. Value company values over country values, and apply it where you can. But that's really big. And to the functional part of that, really having a purpose for how you want to manage global teams. So for us, as a US based institution, our marketing sales is still US based, but our operations and biz dev is done in emerging markets because they are the front facing part of what our clients represent. So really balancing through that, leading and inspiring people who might feel like you don't understand how to build and scale a business in Ghana versus in London, showing them your experiences as a leader, but also making sure that you're steadfast on your value set as well.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, never compromise the values, right? And you may adjust the things that it requires for that particular region, but the values they will have to stay the same. There will no compromise to that for sure. Now, Christine, many founders struggle with visibility. You've done a lot of personal branding. What's one principle you believe every entrepreneur should live in digital first world?
Yeah, so this is a huge one. I think the first thing is to actually put your personal brand as the centerpiece of how you build out your career as an entrepreneur. I think what a lot of entrepreneurs and working professionals do is they work their way backwards. They tie their brand around an entity or a business. And when that business or entity is not going, because you're going to have periods of lows where maybe you lost that deal or maybe something didn't go wrong, they also have like a real downfall as well, emotionally, spiritually, physically for some situations. So when you actually ground yourself, like, this is the personal brand, this is the person I want to be in this world. What are the three words that you use to define you? Clearly, with my energy and my fire, boldness, authenticity, mastery, those are three words that come to mind when people think of me and how I put myself out there. And my value proposition to the world is that I want to help entrepreneurs be able to build and scale scalable brands and scalable companies. That's my mission. So what happens is, with that grounding, every single thing I do in the world or in the universe is a vehicle to make that happen, right? So that vehicle might be GSC, which is one of my businesses, which accelerates entrepreneurs around the world. That vehicle might also be an initiative where I'm running a tech summit in Haiti to inspire entrepreneurs in emerging markets. But what happens is that because I'm grounded on that original core identity, no matter what happens with my businesses, I'm still grounded in who I am. And in fact, I'm able to accelerate the initiatives and applications that I do in market a lot faster because it goes back to me as a founder, as an individual, positioning myself as a personal brand. And this is what's really important too, is that you got to think that your business will evolve, your initiatives will evolve, your interests will evolve. That's why you need a core base where who you are as a person. A lot of times people say, as a mother of four, there's a lot of African traditions where you're the personality of child actually comes within the first few days of life. We actually, to our fundamental core, don't really change as people. We kind of are people discovering ourselves over time. And so if you stick to that core identity of who you are, again, everything else becomes a vehicle to achieve the value you want to put in the world. And I think it's really important to see personal branding in that light and not how we've been told, where it's like more of logos and websites and designs and influencer clout. It's deeper than that. It's how you want to position the narrative of you in the world and what businesses are you putting out there to solve the challenges that you are putting forth to do that.
So well said. I mean, we're all in for this. Like knowing yourself, you know your power. You know, this is what we do here at Bold Awards.
Yeah.
We want to shed a light of things that you do, and I completely 100% with you. I'm with you on this because I also seen this also with not just with entrepreneurs, but I've also seen with people. Let's say work for a big corporation that has big titles. They attach themselves to those titles, and when those titles are gone, they become depressed.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
and you
Exactly.
look at them, it's like, wow, you learn a lesson never to attach yourself to such identity, like you said, to the company that you work for, the title that you have, or even to the materialistic things. You know, you should know yourself, you should know your values, you should walk in yourself with the confidence that this is your uniqueness, and that uniqueness no one can take away. Economies can fall, a business, like you said, can fall, but guess what? You always arise when you know who you are. You can always do greater and greater every time because we're made to be this way. This is amazing,
Exactly.
Christine. Thank you so much for bringing us to this great conversation. Now, you've written a number of featured articles at Forbes and Harvard Business Review and more. You're doing all these events in the Haiti Summit, and you've been on a great hands-on in terms of the spotlight and the movements and tech and everything else. What's one moment of failure or frustration that deeply shaped you as a leader?
This, I keep reacting to these questions with the reaction that I have multiple, because when you've been in entrepreneurship for over 15 years, like myself, you become very seasoned to see a lot of experiences. You don't have one, you have multiple, and you really grow from there. And you're right, I've been able to walk in rooms that people wouldn't expect myself to be in. And the first thing I will say is, before I even get into failures, like really recognizing that when you have opportunities like that in your career, where you're privileged to be speaking on global stages, giving talks at the UN, being featured in Forbes, working with, governments and institutions of every caliber, you start to get imposter syndrome a lot, right? And you start to really compare and say, like, okay, am I really supposed to be in these rooms? Am I really supposed to be doing this? Because people will do that to you, right? Because people want to question why are you in the room, right? They'll give you the looks, they give you the side eye, they'll question you more. And I remember there was a moment where I was one of the headline speakers for a major event that was going on in London. And I remember backstage, every speaker, every stakeholder was just getting so much positive reception. Not only was I ignored, I was disrespected in many different ways. And I think the one thing that I learned with that one, because I've dealt with this before, but for some reason, this was the first time that I realized, like, you know what? It's more than humility at this point. It's really a course of, you got to always tell yourself that you deserve to be in these rooms. That's fine. But part two, I don't have to prove anything to them. I have to make sure that I continue to give value to the people that I want to serve. Because when you try to prove yourself, and this is something that might be a contradictory to what people will say, but I do feel like boldness means that you do not need to prove yourself to anyone. You just need to showcase your gifts and talents the way you best feel that it should be showcased. I remember after the backstage in the green room with everything that was happening, when I took the stage, not only was I the only speaker that got a standing ovation, people were in tears. When I got off the stage, the paradigm shift just shifted. Everyone just like wanted to network and talk to me. And I remember thinking to myself that this is really sad that the world operates like this. That people only see you when the masses receives you, not when you're just starting out. And so for my entrepreneurs on the call, never, ever, 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 ever second guess yourself just because the masses are not paying attention to you. Because I'm telling you, as someone who's accomplished a lot, I've gotten almost every accolade you could accumulate on the checklist as an entrepreneur. The best things you could do is like when you're really out there being yourself and you're showing up even for one person, I promise you it's 10 times more powerful than showing up for people who don't even deserve to be in your space, because a lot of people are very superficial. A lot of people are very judgmental. And as an entrepreneur, you're going to be interacting with a lot of different characters, a lot of different stakeholders. Don't take it personal. It's based on their exposure and their understanding. You do not need to teach them a lifetime of lessons in one meeting. You just got to be yourself. And I promise you, even in that moment, they may not change their thinking. But when they go back years from now, I have people come back to me. It's like, I remember meeting you. And they'll remember how you made them feel. Maybe not what you said, but how you made them feel, the energy you brought to the room. So please be consistent with that. That's why I learned, like, now with the accolades, I'm blessed and I'm grateful. Like, I'm so grateful the opportunities that's been given for me. I almost get in tears thinking about it, but it no longer defines me anymore. It's really what I do to make an impact on the people that matter, because that's what drives me. Seeing people stand and say, like, you changed my worldview, that's worth 1,000 different awards and exposure.
Amazing. Christine, I would love to take this conversation for a lot longer, but this is a short format, bold talks,
Yeah.
maybe for next time. What does the word bold mean to you?
Oh my goodness, I love that. So bold means being audacious, authentic, and just tenacious. I think people forget that part about being bold, being tenacious, because you could be bold in small sprints, but can you continuously be bold consistently, time after time after time after time, no matter what? That's what boldness means to me. There's no limit to your fire. You just keep going no matter what. That's bold.
I love it. I love it. Even when you don't feel like showing up,
Yes.
be bold one step at a time, like you said earlier. Christine, so great to have you here. Truly looking forward to meeting you soon again. Until next time, be bold always. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.